the TheRJ66 C10 Build update, part 3. In the first 2 videos, I kind of showed you guys, the plans of the build and what was going on, where we were headed with the build, and now we're making some progress. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you didn't happen to see part 1 or part 2 of the build series, we'll put the link to those videos in the description below. The front end of the truck's kind of buttoned up. We're actually working with K&N to do a carbon fiber intake, which we'll walk you through in this video, show you what goes into making something out of carbon fiber. It's pretty trippy, but I'll walk you around to the back half of the truck, which we haven't gone into much detail on yet. Gotta love 1966 technology. We've moved on to the back of the C10 now. The front's pretty much finalized. The engine, accessory drive, exhaust, a lot of the suspension, hard stuff up front is all finalized. So now in the back of the truck, just trying to get it to hook up as much as possible with 800 horsepower. The cantilever suspension, like we mentioned in the previous videos, is pretty trick. So Nick finally finalized all the mounting for the rear shocks, the cantilever arms that go down to the Curry housing. Everything's finalized now. The rear sway bars mounted, the hubs, starting on brake lines in the back. And one cool thing that we're actually going to do back here is this will all be solid mounted, and there'll be maybe some like storage bins or coolers back here in the back. So that's kind of something cool that Nick's going to design. And another thing is with the gas tank back here, we were wondering what a cool way is to fill it, whether it be a hidden gas store. And what we ended up coming up with is this actually whole back of the truck lifts up. So when you pull up to a gas station or somewhere and you want to show someone the back of the truck, or just simply fill up with gas, work on the back of the truck, this will actually be on struts. You just lift it up, it'll stay up there, and then just closes right back down. So pretty trick little setup he's come up with, super clean. Might fill this in with carbon fiber too, so gonna see what that would set us back, but might fill in the bed with carbon fiber. Obviously the oil tank's up there, but yeah, the 4-link system in this truck's pretty rad. It's all off-road kind of parts, that Curry housing, the off-road style hubs, and then the huge Willwood brakes. It needs a lot of brake for this big heavy truck. I think it's going to weigh more than actually any of my race trucks actually weigh. So the oil cooler will actually end up getting mounted right here, the CBR cooler. We have it here. I can mount it up in there and show you, but it's going to be mounted here with a fan on it, and there'll be some type of wheel well here, just so if we do get a little too rowdy and a burnout, we don't want the tire flying up and getting into the cooler or the oil tank on the other side. So
what's this white behemoth behind?
Oh, we got battle of the old school trucks going on here at the shop, but this is actually one of Walker's old Ram Chargers. So I think it was built late 80s, early 90s. He used it to pre-run with back in the day when he was racing trophy trucks, Class 8s. Kind of cool. We're doing a little bit of a restoration project, mounting a LS7 in it for him. I guess if you want to see more on this project as we're building it, or when it's complete, drop a comment. Let us know if you're interested in some old history of Walker Evans racing. Well, we're making some progress with the truck, but we're going to actually go on down to K&N Filters. They're about 5 miles down the road from us, so super local here in Riverside, and show you what goes into making a carbon intake. So I've actually never seen the process of carbon fiber done, so I think it's going to be pretty trippy. I hear it's a lot of work to go into just making one single intake. So let's go over and visit those guys, see what they got going on. So we just got to K&N Filters, the composite section, and Mike's going to walk us through what goes into making the carbon intake for the C10. It's a long, diverse process, so we're not going to be able to get everything here, but he's going to walk us through what goes into making the intake and the current process that he's at right now.
Yeah, let's go check it out. So this is the intake that we're going to be making for the C10, and this mold is made out of aluminum. You guys fabbed it up, and fit checked it and everything, and you want to make sure the parts fit before you make them. So that's already been done, and I've drawn a few general templates, and then I'm going to cut it out of the actual carbon fiber here. Our stuff is pre-pregnated with the resin on the back, so it's sticky as it gets warmer, and we keep it in the freezers over here. so it stops the curing phase, and we can pull it out, draw on it, put it back in there.
How many layers will go into just the intake?
This particular part, I'm going to do carbon fiber, and then I'll do some fiberglass, and then carbon fiber. So it'll be a 4-layer part. I'll probably put a little bit of structure over this section for when the nut goes on, so that way it doesn't collapse down. But overall, we'll call it 4 layers.
So this is the first and last thing that goes in?
No, it's just it's the last thing in the bag, and then the bag is physically around the outside. Air suction, vacuum pump. Push that down because there's a little recession in there. And yep, that's about it. Suck it down, and then we usually, to help with the vacuum seal process, we get a paddle and we go around all the insides. Just give it a little more definition. If any of that carbon fiber came unadhered, this kind of helps it stay back down. It's heating up, circulating the air around the whole deal, and then it pressurizes the tank to 40 psi.
How much does just this machine cost?
They range from size. I mean, a couple $100,000 to $1 million. It all depends on how big you want to go. And a lot of medical type stuff uses autoclaves for their sterilization and all that. This isn't that style, but these are all the line gauges and everything that go through the side, and then it's run off a vacuum pump in the back.
Tony's been with K&N Filters for how many years?
19 years this year.
19 years.
Let it count.
He's been big behind pushing the power sports growth and all the stuff we do with the Pro 2 and the Pro 4 stuff. So when I told him about this C10 project, he's like, we got to get involved. And he was one of the main pushes behind making this custom intake come to life.
Yeah, look, we have a product for everything. You show that. From everything from your daily driver to the C10 and side by side, so it's just kind of fitting to be on everything you got.
And what's crazy that I didn't understand is you guys make everything from top to bottom for the filters. It's not just a filter. It's you guys have a rotor molding facility, you have a powder coat facility, you have a carbon facility, a fabrication facility. Everything here is on site. You do it all right here in Riverside.
Yeah, that's true. From conception to finished product, from testing and everything. We have a full lab. We have tube bending. Every part of the product is actually made here. I mean, there's pieces we source, but the actual manufacturing happens here right in Riverside.
Yeah, which is crazy because you see an air filter and you know what its job is, you know its duty, but you don't see everything that goes into it, which is crazy. I mean, from the logo design, marketing to the video production to the process, it's all done right here. It's pretty cool and pretty huge. How big is this facility here?
Our main building is 400,000 square feet. I think we're close to 1 million square feet with all the surrounding buildings that we have around here. And then we have another facility that's in Grand Prairie, Texas.
Insane. Huge operation here at K&N Filters.
All right, so the parts just got done with autoclave, so let's go check them out. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
The carbon process is pretty extensive. It takes a lot of labor, but there's a lot of sit time as well as the parts cook and things. So anywhere from prep to a finished product, you can decently have 30 plus hours into just making one single part. We're fortunate enough to have a big enough autoclave that we can do multiple parts and put things in at the same time, but it still has to take its turn, and you can see the vast amount of products we make that include carbon.
I think that I want to just put this on the shelf rather than on the cart. Why not take the hood off?
Yeah.
Dude, how do I get one of these?
Yeah, where's the outfit?
I'm putting this in my next year's contract. I want a Chewbacca suit.
It's not fair.
So Tony just dropped off the custom carbon intake, and it by far exceeded my expectations. When Nick brought up the idea of doing it out of carbon, it was just kind of laughed at first, and then called K&N. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And then Mike absolutely crushed it. Thank you, Mike. The amount of time and making like all the carbon lay up next to each other, it's pretty crazy watching the process and seeing what went into actually building this intake, because this is going to need a lot of air. This engine requires tons of air, and just the amount of space we had up top, that was our problem, and why we ended up going so intricate is there's really only a little bit of air on the top of this thing. So this motor needs a ton of air to breathe and get the most power out of it as possible, as well as getting it away from the heat. So that was kind of our objective with it. K&N absolutely crushed it. Thank you very much. I think that's going to be one of those things that when you pop the hood on this truck, people are going to be like, no way. It's got this trick exhaust, trick intake, just really kind of ties this truck together. Stay tuned for part 4 of the RJ66 build, and in the meantime, follow the build at the RJ66 on Instagram.